Good evening, dear viewers, and welcome to the News Bulletin at 8, brought to you by number one news provider, Eswatini TV. I am Nondumiso Vilagati alongside Zamanze Manze. First, let us take a look at today's headlines. The Minister of Public Works and Transport, Chief Ndlahlaza Ndwandwe, has informed the House of Assembly about challenges that caused delay in the fulfillment of the gravelling and blading program of 150 kilometers roads per region. The Municipal Council of Manzini needs 800 million emalangeni to put tar on damaged roads, including those damaged by the Friday and Saturday hailstorms. The news. The Minister of Public Works and Transport, Chief Ndlahlaza Ndwandwe, has informed the House of Assembly about challenges that caused delay in the fulfillment of gravelling and blading program of 150 kilometers roads per region. The minister says even though government failed to reach the target, but it managed to gravel and blade 100 kilometers each region.
Lukongolweni Member of Parliament Inos Magongo has asked the Minister of Public Works and Transport, Chief Ndlahlaza Ndwandwe, to explain to members of Parliament as to what happened to the Ministry's program of gravelling and blending 150 kilometers road per region. The Minister explains that some of the challenges that crippled the process and further assures the MPs that the Ministry will fulfill the promise.
Lokasishaya ngumsebenzi lo waphuta kuqala eminyakeni ukuthi usebendeke wathi na usetshenzwa sosekugcineni tender board safike isinqumo se-tender board saveta ukuthi akukahambiseki kahle asivumelani nale proposal yelitiko wase lo msebenzi ke sewuyema bakhanza ukuthi ne response ye tender board sevele isikhathi eminyaka sesihambile kuqalela phasi le process kutawugabanqela eminyakeni lolandzelako njengoba sikhathi sahulumende sekuthi bese kuyamiswa ku-committee kwama-funds siba before March i-Ministry of Finance bese iyasho ukuthi akume committee ema-funds kwase-ke lokho kwenta ukuthi ngale mali lesingena nayo kulo mnyaka wangala lesikuwo nje so khanza ukuthi le budget seyilingene kwekuthi singenta umsebenzi longanga 100 kilometers per region. So in total sende 400 kilometers countrywide.
The minister also explained that there were some challenges that were faced by the department under the ministry that repairs heavy plants. He added that some bridges which were destroyed by Cyclone Eloise have been fixed in some of the constituencies. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, and some visuals are sourced from Parliament.
The Director of Health Services, Dr. Vusi Makakula, says the nation is not banned from requesting for the Pfizer vaccine from different vaccination sites. The director says with the Pfizer vaccine, they will prioritize people from the age of 12 to 17 years. However, other age groups are allowed to use it as well. Makakula was unpacking how the rollout of the Pfizer vaccine was going so far.
The Ministry of Health started rolling out the vaccination of children from the ages of 12 to 17 years last week. The Director of Health Services, Dr. Vusi Makakula, says there has been a remarkable turnout of people coming to vaccinate. The Director encourages people to continue taking the vaccine as this is the only way the country can totally eradicate the virus.
Basically kakhulu kubantwana between the ages of 12 and 17 sizathu lokuthi umjovo losilungela kubantwana and but akusho lokuthi restricted to that age. Anyone who comes in after professional lo mjovo sitamjova siyaqhubeka siyamjova so kuhamba kahle in terms of law. Cha ngakhuthaza abantu abaqhubeke vele bajova ngena ndlela kuphela esebonakele sesaba nyalo kungasikele i-fourth wave nase ikhona suke sekuvele sekulate ke lokujova kasifuna ujova ya asijove nje kunene kumahala kusafe lo mjova akusithi kuphela kusemaswati kuphela jova wonke umuntu so siyakhuthaza nje wonke umuntu akajova avikele kutoyehla le severity lokugula in case sekubambile.
The director says they have made their projections on the fourth wave but stated that they cannot say exactly when it will start. Makakula went on to say government is determined to have everyone vaccinated so that no life is lost. On Monday, the Ministry of Health released a statement where over 244,000 people had been fully vaccinated. For Eswatini TV News, Nelson Ngamandla, pictures sourced from the internet.
The Indaba X Hackathon 2021, which saw ICTs and financial inclusion coming together, has come to an end. Eswatini Communications Commission Acting Chief Executive Officer Thulani Fagutse says the competition has been an eye-opener in terms of local potential in ICT. There were about 41 participants in the competition.
The Indaba X Hackathon saw the blending of ICTs and finding solutions to financial inclusion. Eswatini Communications Commission Acting Chief Executive Officer Thulani Fagutse says the competition was an eye-opener.
The fact that you participated and the lessons that you learned from participation, our view is that it will go a long way towards ensuring that the talent that's there is further developed. And we would like to encourage as well that you don't take this as a failure, but rather as a learning in terms of saying there's more that you can do in as far as this space is concerned.
University of Eswatini Vice Chancellor Professor Justice Twala explains the importance of the competition.
The models and solutions developed can provide an indication of the state of financial inclusion while providing insights into some of the key factors driving individuals' financial security.
Kawe Matimela, who spoke on behalf of the winning group, shares their experience.
My team and I joined this hackathon because we believe that improved availability and equality of opportunities to access financial services by individuals and businesses in Africa will help improve the lives of all Africans at large. We hope that our solution can be used to shed light on the state of financial inclusion in Africa and enable all stakeholders to produce solutions that can improve access to appropriate, affordable and timely financial products and services to all Africans.
The organizing committee says it wants local students to be brave enough to enter such competitions at an international level.
Bajwayele lama competition lawa kwesibili nekuthi sisebenze indzaba yema skills ebantwaneni bemaswati ukuthi bakhone ukuyingenela imichuzelwane lefanana nalena.
For Eswatini TV News, Themgosi Mavimbela with Fortune Dlangamandla, KwaLuseni.
The Municipal Council of Manzini needs 800 million emalangeni to put tar on damaged roads, including those damaged by the Friday and Saturday hailstorms. This was said by the town's public relations officer Mathokoza Twala when giving an update regarding havoc caused by the recent hailstorms.
The Municipal Council of Manzini has already started fixing roads which were damaged by Friday and Saturday hailstorms which hit the country and left a trail of destructions. The Municipal Public Relations Officer Mathokoza Twala says the hailstorms mostly damaged roads in the town.
What we have done is that we have gone back to the drawing board and developed a schedule wherein we prioritized the roads that we shall be starting with, meaning that we shall be attending to the road in phases depending on the extent of the damage. So the most severe damages will be attended to first, and then we'll then gradually move on to the less severe one. We can state in Langamandla that most of our surface roads, meaning cut roads, especially the old ones, because you'll recall that the lifespan of a road, a tarred road, is 15 years. So any road that has lived beyond 15 years is most likely to develop potholes at some point in time. You will recall that the city of Manzini is one of the oldest in the Kingdom of Eswatini. We encourage residents to continue notifying council of any worse situations in terms of the damages through our 24/7 call center. The number is 800-2004, and you can call using your cell phone. You are not limited to the landline.
Matsapa Town Board Public Relations Officer Sihle Sihlongonyane says there were minor damages caused by the hailstorms, even on the roads. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, visual source from Manzini Town Council.
The ball has started rolling for 18 accused who allegedly defrauded government over 5 million emalangeni meant for decentralization. The accused persons allegedly worked with an accountant from the Ministry of Tinkundla, who is also an accused in the matter. The 18 accused appeared before Principal Judge Qinsile Mabuza today.
A government accountant who worked for the Ministry of Tinkundla Administration and Development, trusted with funds to facilitate decentralization of government services, among others, has been accused of violating his employer's trust by defrauding the state money meant for service delivery. The civil servant, whose name is Mbongeni Mkwanazi, was arrested with 17 co-accused persons who benefited from the alleged fraudulent transactions. These alleged transactions are reported to have happened between 2012 and 2013, where over 5 million emalangeni was purportedly diverted to the co-accused persons. The accused persons now face 18 charges of contravening the Prevention of Corruption Act of 2006. They also face an alternative charge of fraud. The charge sheet states that the money was for constructing service centers and or providing general infrastructure to facilitate service delivery in regions and Tinkundla under the decentralization program. The charge sheet also states that the accused persons allegedly diverted the money through an unlawful misrepresentation which they made to the Treasury Department and government. They are alleged to have produced invoices accompanied by vouchers and or contracts of engagement which they submitted to the Treasury Department as reflecting genuine professional services rendered and or goods supplied to the Ministry of Tinkundla. They are accused of doing this knowing that no genuine professional services and or goods were rendered and or supplied to the ministry. When the matter came before court on Tuesday, the Crown submitted that it is withdrawing charges against 7 accused persons as they have turned into accomplice witnesses. This leaves 11 accused who will go to trial. The 11 accused have pleaded not guilty to all 18 charges. Their trial will continue in court on the 7th of February 2022. In this matter, the Crown is represented by Thabo Dlamini and Ngebo Lukele from the chambers of the Director of Public Prosecutions. The accused have different legal representatives in Noncedo Dlangamandla, Mbendulo Dlamini, Sifiso Masego, Sabelo Mgometulu and Derek Jele. The matter is before Principal Judge Qinsile Mabuza. For Eswatini TV News, Temgosi Mavimbela with Fortune Dlangamandla, High Court.
Business Eswatini met employees to sensitize them on the importance of developing saving mechanisms in order to have sustainable businesses. The Chief Executive Nathi Dlamini says the social security reforms are a necessity in business sector because it gives a clear direction on how a business will run in the future. The meeting was held at Royal Villas in Eswatini.
Business Eswatini's Chief Executive Officer Nathi Dlamini says saving mechanisms and benefits for life's unforeseen events are a necessity in business. That is why they conducted a workshop on social security reforms for employers at the Royal Villas at Eswatini.
The private sector, members of Business Eswatini, all of them are here represented. We have government officials and the various stakeholders, ENPF, is to find out firstly, the pension bill that is being flighted, and to see if, and the conversion that is being proposed, and the modalities of that conversion. And to look at who's going to be financing all of that. And indeed, if we know who's going to be financing, how sustainable are the models being proposed here? Things can happen. Accidents, people are at work, they lose their jobs, which is we are looking also the unemployment insurance. People can get sick, who pays them? Because currently, if you get sick, 30 days you're off work, the employer pays that, and yet you're off work. So we need a fund that will cater for that. Maternity leave, other exigencies of life can happen while we are still working over and above just pension. And those are the things we're looking holistically here to say a social security should cater for all of these things. And if it should, and it must, by the way, how do we configure it in a manner that we feel is sustainable going forward, but also we find that it is fair, and that is very, very, very important now.
Dlamini says Business Eswatini will continue to look for ways to make a better working environment for businesses. For Eswatini TV News, Nelson Ndlangamandla with Mbongwa Dube, Zuluini.
The Youth Enterprise Revolving Fund has challenged the youth to opt for digital entrepreneurship because of the many uncertainties and challenges posed by the business world because of the ever-changing economic conditions. Mazia says the fund is ready to assist these businesses as long as they meet the fund's standards. He says as part of the Global Entrepreneurship Week, they are going to focus more on inclusion.
Eswatini has joined the world in celebrating the Global Entrepreneurship Week, commemorated every year this month. The Chief Executive Officer of the Youth Enterprise Revolving Fund, Begizwe Mazia, says this year's 4 main themes are ecosystems, education, inclusion and policy.
We want to encourage the young people that the fund is here and ready to accept applications from the young people to start their own businesses. However, we wish to point out to young people that business can no longer be done the same way we have been doing yesterday. In the advent of COVID-19 lockdown, in the advent of social unrest in the country, it therefore requires us as business people to come up with new ideas, new way of doing business so that these businesses become sustainable. We encourage young people to look more into businesses that includes ICT, manufacturing businesses, the health sector, agribusiness, particularly to do with processing and value addition. Those are the businesses that have potential to be sustainable even throughout these challenging times of COVID-19 and other pandemics. Moreover, we wish to remind young people that in the advent of the fourth industrial revolution, employment is getting scarce and scarce. Most people are being retrenched from employment. It therefore requires them to think of starting businesses that have to that are pursuing ICT, in particular technology, because this is where the world is going right now.
The Chief Executive Officer says as a fund, the main theme they are focusing on is inclusion. For Eswatini TV News, Nelson Ndlangamandla with Mbongwa Dube, Mbabane.
Former President of the United States of America, Barack Obama, has asked for all stakeholders to pull together in fighting climate change. Obama says without cooperation, it will be near impossible to succeed in this mission. He says the Paris Agreement partly failed because there was no meaningful commitment.
We have not done nearly enough to address this crisis. We are going to have to do more. And whether that happens or not, to a large degree, is going to depend on you. Not just those of you in this room, but anybody who's watching or reading a transcript of what I say here today. That was true 6 years ago as well. In Paris, our goal was to turn progress into an enduring framework that would give the world confidence in a low-carbon future. An agreement where countries would update their emissions targets on a regular basis. An agreement that would help developing nations get the resources they need to skip the dirty phase of development and help those nations that are most vulnerable to climate change get the resources they need to adapt. An agreement that would give businesses and investors the certainty that the global economy is on a firm path towards a clean and sustainable future. In other words, our hope was to create an agreement that gave our planet a fighting chance. That was our ambition. And by some measures, the agreement has been a success. For the first time, leaders of nearly 200 nations, large and small, developed and developing, made a commitment to work together to confront a threat to the people of all nations. And that seemed proof that for all the divisions in our world, when a crisis threatens all of us, we can come together to address it. At the time, we also believed that if enough national governments showed they were serious about climate, then other institutions, particularly in the private sector, would start raising their sights as well. And over the last 6 years, that is what's happened. Today, more than 1/5 of the world's largest companies have set net zero emissions targets. Not just because it's the right thing to do for the environment, but in many cases because it makes sense for their bottom line. More than 700 cities in more than 50 countries have pledged to cut their emissions in half by the end of the decade and reach net zero by 2050.
Welcome back, dear viewers. You are still watching Eswatini TV, and for your sports news tonight, the Confederations of African Football (CAF) has since allowed members of the association to allow fans to CAF competitions, but they will have to follow each country's regulations and those that were put forward by FIFA and CAF. The statement was released by the Secretary General of the Federation, Veron Masengo Omba.
When COVID-19 broke out, fans world over were banned from attending football games by FIFA and CAF. 2 years later, with the impact of COVID less, many governments and football associations allowed fans to return to watch football. The Confederation of African Football has also allowed its member associations to allow fans back to CAF competitions, which includes club football and national teams. CAF says the association will still have to follow regulations by FIFA and government from each country. Each member association will have to inform CAF if they intend to have fans and provide a letter from the health minister approving the number of fans allowed and the match venue to be used. And also provide a letter assuring CAF that all protocols will be observed as outlined by CAF. The Confederation says if any member association fails to provide all that is required 24 hours before the game, spectators will not be allowed inside the stadium. Eswatini is still represented by Royal Leopards in the CAF Confederations competition and will be playing against JS Kabylie from Algeria month end. Reporting for Eswatini TV Sports News, I am Patizo Msibi with Linda Dlamini Mbabane.
The National Rugby Sevens head coach Wilson Dlamini says there is a lot of work that needs to be done in order to bring the players to speed up again. Dlamini was speaking when the national team was preparing for the first time in 2 years for a tournament to be hosted in Mauritius.
The Rugby 7 national team, Sizeze, is currently in preparations for a mini tournament to be hosted in Mauritius. The team is in training for the first time in over 2 years because of COVID-19. The national team head coach Wilson Dlamini says the first training session he noticed a lot of things they will need to work on.
Basically, I would say handling skills because guys have never played for 2 years since Avalo Emma Sports. So what we're trying to do Nyala is to try and get them back to formation or form where Guti Babe ready for Guti Babele Bayodlala field in.
Team captain Pasika Dlamini and Wandile Makwaza seems to agree with their coach that there is a lot to be done.
So tough because Now ngabe uhleli isikhathi lesizwe you are not match fit, but lokho sisaqala nje siyathi ukuthi umsebenzi usesemningi ngakithi, so sitawubuka ukuthi nguphi la kumele sosebenza khona kakhulu after abo coach sebasasida steward kodungisela even more semakhaya.
A little bit tough, all I can say, but as seen, individuals in Biscona would train as sort of, because we knew we were in the last team, Lesotho last time, so they were like, the coach was telling us, oh guys, please keep on training, we were like training, we were on track, but it's a little bit tough, but I know we're gonna make it.
The team will continue with their preparations at least once a week, and also the coach believes that the return of their games will help the players return to form quickly. Reporting for Eswatini TV Sports News, I am Patizo MC with Fabrice Msonera, Manzini.
That is all we had for tonight, but before we wrap up, let us take a quick recap and look at today's headlines. The Minister of Public Works and Transport, Chief Ndlaluhlaza Ndwandwe, has informed the House of Assembly about challenges that caused delay in the fulfillment of the gravelling and blading program of 150 kilometers roads per region. The Municipal Council of Manzini needs 800 million emalangeni to put tar on damaged roads, including those damaged by the Friday and Saturday hailstorms. That brings us to the end of our news bulletin tonight. Up next is a weather forecast for selected towns. Good night, Eswatini.